Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abror bin Adli from 4B. Okay, today I want to present about our topic, which is chapter 2, national income. Okay. In economic sector in Malaysia, there are three sectors, which is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. In primary sector, Malaysian economic development is largely due its wealth of natural resources in agriculture, forestry, mining and quarry. In primary sector, there are two product that Malaysia process, which is internal product and product commodities of export. In Peninsular Malaysia, Malaysia have cocoa, rice, rubber, palm and oil. In Sabah, have coconuts, rice, rubber, subsistence crops and timber. Sarawak, also in Sarawak, which is rubber, paper and timber. Product commonly export, the product that Malaysia common export to another country, which is palm oil and rubber. In secondary sector, Malaysia diversified manufacturing and construction industry, as the country has abundant natural resources including minerals, liquefied natural gas, LNG, petroleum and tin. In secondary sector, Malaysia have export and domestic. Export can be explained by continuous expansion in the electronic cycle and favorable global industrial activities are expected to translate into firm demand for strong growth in the production of export-oriented manufactured goods. In domestics, increasing growth of the food subsector following strong household demand, while the construction related subsector will be supported by continuous expansion in construction activities. Lastly, tertiary sector. The tertiary sector is the main contribution for Malaysia economy, rather than primary and secondary. Malaysian service sector that generate the revenues for the economy, which mean Malaysia, they generate income by serve the service. For example, electricity, gas and water, wholesale and retail trade, accommodation and restaurant, transport, storage and communication, finance, insurance, real estate and business services, government service and other service, which is related to Malaysia economy.
Alright, so Assalamualaikum. My name is Atiqah and I'll be continuing from Haris and I'll be discussing about the contribution of economic sector towards national income. As we may know, our topic is relating to the topic 2, which is measuring national income and output. And as you may know, our topic is relating by the product and output approach. Okay, by using this approach, we may know that the way we want to calculate the GDP is by adding up all the final product for the year by all the economic sector involved. Alright, continuing. Based on the Malaysia Economy 2019, based on Department of Statistics Malaysia, we get that the most we get that the most economy sector that contribute to the GDP is from the tertiary sector, which is the service industry. It is known by this statistic, the services industry, the share contribution for the GDP for that year is 57.7%, which it is increasing from the previous year 2018 by 6.1%. So it mentioned that the services industry is one of the important economic sector in Malaysia. As we may know, the example of the services industry is tourism. Except from tourism, it could be information and communication, and it is also wholesale and retail trade. Alright, so we can continue to the second most contributed sector, which is from the secondary sector, which is the manufacturing. As we may know, the manufacturing is also one of the important industry in Malaysia. So for the year 2019, the share contribution it is 22.3%, which it also increases from the previous year 3.8%. So as we may know, our Malaysia is kaya is kaya dengan sumber and the innovation that happen in Malaysia too, that we keep studying and innovate things to make things better. So the example that given based on the statistic will be electronic and optical product, also the motor vehicles and transport equipment. Alright, the third follow up by the agriculture industry, which it is one of the type of industry from the primary sector, and it is shown by that 2019 the share of contribution is 7.1%. It also increases from 2.0 by the previous year, and as we know, our country is mainly known by the exporting oil palm and the livestock and other agriculture product. Alright, so it is followed up by the construction. Alright, it is also followed up by the construction industry. For the year 2019, the share of the contribution is 4.7%, which it is increasing by 0.1 by the previous year. And as you may know, construction is one of the industry from the secondary sector, and Malaysia is commonly known by their civil engineering, specialized construction activities. Alright, so lastly, the contribution. So lastly, the economic sector that contribute the most on the GDP is mining and quarrying, which is the mining and quarrying is at 7.1% on 2019. For mining and quarrying, it is decreases from the previous year. As we may know, it is decreases by 2.0, and our country is known by our crude oil and condensate. Alright, as we may know from all the data shown, our economy has expanded by 4.3% compared to the preceding year 2018, which is at 4.8%. Alright, so as we may know, our gross domestic price based on current prices, our country GDP is stated on 1.5 trillion ringgit Malaysia, while the GDP based on the constant prices, which is the price index by 2015, it is shown that it is recorded on 1.42 trillion ringgit Malaysia. Alright, so the gross national income for the year, it is increases from 2018, which is 43,307 ringgit to 45,231 ringgit Malaysia.
Malaysia's GDP grew at 0.7% from 3.6% in the fourth quarter of 2019. This is the lowest growth recorded since the third quarters of 2019, negative 1.1%. The growth in this quarter was supported by the service sector 3.1% and manufacturing 1.5%, while the other sector registered negative growth. Private final consumption expenditure in this quarter was on essential products such as food and non-alcoholic beverage, communication and housing, water, electricity, and other foods. However, household consumption reduced in petrol, travel, recreation, and outside food consumption. The lower expenditure by household has directly affected the industries related to food and beverage, accommodation, transportation, sport, and recreation. This is due to the interconnection between the consumption and production of goods and services. Malaysia's economy value of 1.4 trillion ringgit has been the main trading country with an annual trade value of 1.9 trillion ringgit, will definitely be affected by the global economic performance. The value of tourism sector for our country which is measured through the tourism satellite account contributes 50.2% to the economy with a value of 220.6 billion ringgit and employed 3.5 million people. He is also explained there are 184 industries involved to the chain of tourism sector. Thus, the spread of COVID-19 has unavoidably impacted the tourism sector. Our export to China also has begun to reduce severely begin January 2020. Hence, simultaneously, the services export also known a decreasing trend due to decline in tourist arrival to our country. Service sector continue to be the main impetus with a growth of 3.1%. The performance of service sector was supported by information and communication, wholesale and retail, trade to finance and insurance subsector. The information and communication subsector was superheaded by telecommunication segment due to the concept of work from home during the MCO. The manufacturing sector registered a slower growth of 1.5% as against 3.0% in previous quarters. This is the lowest growth attained since quarter of 2030, which is 0.6%. The growth was contributed by petroleum, chemical, rubber, and plastic products, electricity, electronic, and optical products, which is 2.2%, and woods product, furniture, paper product, and printing, which is 1.3%. The decrease in agriculture sector was mainly due to the decline in oil palm, forestry and logging, fishing, and rubber. Oil palm subsector further declined to 22.0%, which is decreasing negative 60.9% due to the contraction in the production crude palm oils. The mining inquiry sector attained a smaller negative 2.0% in the quarter of 2019, which is negative 3.4% due to the improved production in crude and condensate, the natural gas. Construction sector contracted 7.9% from 1.0% in the preceding quarter, and this was the lowest growth since the quarters of 1999, which is negative 7.9%. On the demand side, private final consumption expenditure moderates to 6.0%, which is in 2019 8.1%. Meanwhile, gross fixed capital formation posts a negative 4.6%, and which is 2019 is negative 0.7%, due to the sharp decline in all three segments such as structure, machinery and equipment and other assets. Beside on the analysis of accordance in the system of national account produced by United Nations, World Bank and IMF, Malaysia economy could have attained a higher economic growth in the absence of COVID-19. It is expected to grow in Malaysia economy in the first quarter to be in the range of 3.9% to 4.2%. With this estimate, the losses of 22.8 billion in economic output for this quarter.
Conclusion is the conclusion that I can conclude is the higher total contribution from each sector, the higher national income will be generated. For example, in Malaysia, the main economic sector that contribute the most is the tertiary sector, which is a sector that focus more on services industry. Third, the effect of COVID towards national income to decrease in GNP as the pandemic affect important aspect of the good. And lastly, for GDP, they are increasing as it focus more on the domestic, which is Malaysia more generate income in country, only in country, not export to outside. Okay, thank you.